Yes, people, yes, people, yes, people. It's the We Talk Football podcast. We're back again for episode 4. And all I want to say is, do not worry. I am back. You haven't got this cowboy leading the podcast anymore. Driven on with whatever conversation he wants to talk about Chelsea with some journalist. None of that. Right?
Intellectual conversations, brother. Intellectual conversations. You wouldn't know too much about that, though.
Right, okay, Craig. Well, I've got plenty to say to you, my friend. Don't worry, because plenty of your predictions are tragic. Well, what was it you said about Calvert-Lewin as well? You know, where Calvert-Lewin didn't have it in him to, lead the line for Everton or even score goals. But he scored a hat-trick in the league already, hat-trick in a cup. It's,
Just do your intro.
It's curtains for Quaker already, mate. Right. So, yeah, this week we're talking football fixtures. We're talking the handball rule. And we're talking fantasy league. Handballs, like you've heard it all over the news this week. It's a tragedy. You know, you've got managers coming out. Steve Bruce, Roy Hodgson. You know, Steve Bruce, to say, was the beneficiary of it. You know, he got the handball against Eric Dyer, by the way. And then his team scored a penalty. But even he come out and said that it's killing my love for the game. Roy Hodgson said the same. Handball's just all over the place. And I think the problem is, it's a similar situation to what VAR was last season and how we were saying, why aren't the referees going towards the monitor and all sorts of things like this? But it's not going to change this season. You know, for rule changes, for anything to be changed mid-season is unheard of. For rule changes in general, the IFAB, they look at like the rules they have in football are like holy text. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's rare that anything's changed. And anything that is changed is often scrutinised and all sorts of things like that. And it never happens through the middle of the season. So I think this season is going to be an absolute joke for penalties. You look at the amount we've got that have been given already. Yeah. It's mad. It's mad. But yeah, I'm just hoping that when West Ham play Chelsea, we get a few dubious decisions. And then, that helps us stay in the league. Because, as I said, Jared Bowen, boy.
Yeah,
Jared Bowen.
Okay, we'll talk about Jared Bowen later. But I actually think in terms of the handballs, I don't agree with the rule necessarily in terms of the way it's been interpreted, but I do understand why it's been brought in. There's like too much in football. There's too much like subjectivity in terms of I believe it was this, and I'm judging someone's intent on that. With these new rules, it is very, very black and white. There's no interpretation. I feel like you ain't asking the referee to judge someone's intent. How are you gonna ask the referee to deem if somebody's done that on purpose or put the hand out on purpose? So although there has been a multitude of penalties given this weekend that shouldn't have really been given or wouldn't have been given last season, I do still think that these rules are a good thing and push football in the right direction in terms of it being unilateral and there being no subjectivity involved. What do you think?
So yeah, it's difficult because I actually feel sorry for the referees, if I'm honest. I think referees are being thrown under the bus big time.
They ain't even doing anything anymore. Literally, they're there. They wait to get a message in their ear, and then the decision's given or it's not given. I don't necessarily think they have jurisdiction over the game anymore. It's just it's a bit of a madness. But obviously, when them things go your way, like Chelsea versus West Brom, obviously we had the decision go our way where Kai Havertz handballed it in the build-up and the decision wasn't given, a decision that would have been given last season. But again, it's just it's a bit of a minefield. I think when things settle down and people actually understand the interpretation of the law, then I reckon we'll be good to go.
Yeah, I think when you look at the actual decisions over the weekend, I think the only one where I can actually look at it and see why it was given, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can see why the Eric Dyer, or Eric Dyer, however you want to say his name, I can see why that one was given. Because, they talk about arms being in unnatural positions and things like that. Obviously, he's from a biomechanical standpoint. When he jumps and he's putting his arms out, he's that's as like
speaking science, are we? Biomechanical standpoint.
Go on. His arms almost like a fulcrum, just to keep stability throughout the body. So he's out there and he's putting that there, so he can maintain some sort of balance throughout his jump. Saying that, when it's back there, you can argue if that's a natural position or not. So I can see why the referee has given that, and I can see why they would believe that's a penalty.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with it because, again, you go jump in anything, your arms are there as that fulcrum, to maintain balance throughout your equilibrium. Do you know what I'm saying? Big words. Yeah. But anyway, the ones that I'm struggling with are the Lindelof one against Palace and the Doherty one at the weekend. I think the game nowadays is massively tailored towards attacking football, right? And every pundit has come out against it apart from Graham Souness, but Graham Souness is a dinosaur, so whether you can listen to him or not.
To be fair, I rate Graham Souness. He's probably my favourite Sky Sports pundit.
Yeah, the thing is, Craig, I didn't really ask for your opinion, so simmer down, mate.
You're lost. Go on, I bet you're a Gary Neville fanboy, innit?
No, I'm just saying, like, I think defenders, you know, when they're a yard away, you know, for example, and their arms are by their side, you know, and it's not necessarily an unnatural position, but say your arm's there and you're shuffling, you're in a low center of gravity and your arms are there again just to maintain balance throughout the body.
Do you want the tense anymore?
Bruv. This is post leg day. This isn't tense, right, mate?
Do you want the tense anymore, mate? You're looking good, mate. You're looking good.
Quaker, I'll put a jumper on if you feel bad. It's fine. Don't worry, mate. Right?
Go on, carry on.
When they're in like a low center of gravity and they're having to maintain their balance and their arms are there as again, a balance mechanism just to keep their posture. I don't know what more a defender can do. You can't defend with your arms behind your back, and it just feels like the game's going more and more towards attacking. You know, it's just.
But that is the currency of football, though. People pay to watch football to see goals, and like all sports have gone that way. Like if you look at basketball, a sport that we both love, the rules have changed drastically. If you watch the Last Dance documentary and look at the way that they were playing basketball in the 90s, which is only 25, 30 years ago, the basketball they played then is very different to the basketball they play now. But those fans of the sport are accepting that the sport has changed in order to entertain fans. And I know people, like you say, football law is sacred and people want it untouched. But we're living in a different time, and back where there are more eyes on the game and they're trying to package football to a universal audience, people need to understand the laws of the game. And in the game where one referee deems something to be in handball because that's their discretion, and in a different game a referee doesn't because that's their discretion, I don't think it's unilateral, and I don't think it lends itself to a cohesive game. So I do understand why IFAB brought in this like rule that if the ball hits your arm, regardless of if it's intentional or not, they're going to give it as a penalty, just because it makes it clear for everybody. I just think it's a case of we have to get used to it.
Yes and no. I think there's holes in the rules, and again, it's. I know why they're doing it, because they need to remove the subjectivity. Is that word? Is that the word? But So the subjectivity of individual referees making their own informed opinions on the situation. The problem is situations aren't black and white, and I think it's difficult. Like the one from Eric Dier the other day. He's facing the other way. He's less than a yard away. Andy Carroll nods the ball down, and the only reason you can actually argue that's a penalty is because his arm's in an unnatural position. But is that an unnatural position realistically? You watch. I tell you now, right? If me and you go out in the street, right, and say to 100 people and say, here's £10, I want all of you to jump, right? Every single one of those people are going to use their arms to jump as a momentum. That there's going to be no one there like salmon dancing, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just difficult. It's just difficult. I feel like football's trying to be black and white, but football isn't black and white, and it never will be. Yeah. And trying to apply that ethos towards individual situations is going to, is like tarnishing the game. So you get these people that have been in the game for years, like Roy Hodgson, oldest manager in the Premier League. He's been around for fucking years. He was playing football during apartheid in South Africa. Do you know what I mean? He's been around for a long time, and it's like
I agree with what you're saying, but we also have to accept that if we understand that VAR has now been brought into football and that has changed the dynamics of how the game's being played, we also have to accept that there are going to be rule changes because the game is evolving, the game is changing. I think people are very, very stuck in the idea and the old concepts of football and it being the way it was. But we have to understand that football has changed. One thing I would say is that if players now started intentionally kicking the balls at people's arms or people's hands to gain an advantage or to get a penalty, then obviously they're going to have to look at that. And I do think that there's a possibility of that happening. But in terms of this new handball rule, I can't actually say that I'm not in favour of it. I think it will take a while for people to get used to it, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it takes the subjectivity out of football, which can only be a good thing.
Yeah. Well, it's all about FIFA trying to align us with European football, isn't it? So you look at like the amount of penalties in Serie A and Liga BBVA last year, and there was like 3 times the amount in both leagues as there was in the Premier League, and now it's looking like the amount that we're giving out is somewhat aligned to those leagues. The one thing I would say is, I don't give a shit about Serie A. Most of the world doesn't give a shit about Serie A. Most of the world doesn't give a shit about, Liga BBVA unless it's Real Madrid or Barcelona. Like, the Premier League's the most entertaining league in the world, and I think you are somewhat detracting from the entertainment value, in my opinion. But
you think?
I would say so, yeah. I would say so. I feel like that Tottenham and Newcastle game, right? That decision at the end, if you're neutral towards football, like I'm a neutral towards football, right? I don't particularly like Tottenham. Tottenham did enough to win that game. But I look at that decision and I just think, that's not right. My mum, right? My mum watched the game, right? My mum's a Liverpool fan, right? But even she would turn around and say, like, she hates Jose Mourinho. She turned around and said, that's wrong. No, blah, blah, blah. It's just, I think for football fans, I don't see that as endearing people to the sport because, I just can't see that. And it's funny you say that about, like, players kicking the ball at defenders' hands. It's like, well, look at the Lindelof penalty last week. In my opinion, it looks like Ayu's just chipped the ball up directly into Lindelof. And again, it's a matter of yards away. And you know what I mean?
Can't do anything about it. No, I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. And I do think if that starts to happen, then obviously you've got to have a look at it and revise it. But it's like in the NBA when a player's taking a 3-point shot or taking a shot and they're trying to get fouled, they either kick their legs out or whatever. It's just craftsmanship as part of the game. It's like people going down easy when
they're not comparable, man. They're not comparable. If we're talking about like play acting or diving or things like that, then I think that's more of a comparable situation. But like this is the equivalent of going for a goaltend every basket. Like we both play basketball for years and years and years, but this is the equivalent of me going up to the basket every time I'm playing for a goaltend, so it's guaranteed points. That's the equivalent of giving a penalty just for kicking a ball into someone's hands. And I think,
well, if basketball players had the ability to play for a goaltend every single time, they would. Do you know what I mean? They would. And like I can't sit here and say that I've not been thoroughly entertained for the first 2 weeks of the Premier League, where there's been fuckloads of goals, been loads of talking points, been loads of entertainment. Obviously, it falls in line perfectly for us starting the podcast. We've got so much to talk about. And I feel like the more goals you have in football, the better. Like last season, I think VAR was kind of detrimental to the enjoyment of football in terms of them having to look at after every goal to see if there was a handball in the build-up or see if there was any like infringements in the build-up and them taking away goals. But I'm all for there being more goals in football. And if I'm against technology being in football anyway, but I've accepted it now. And if that's the case, then we've got to accept that the rules of the game are going to change going forward. And I do think handball is just one of those rules. But again, I feel like it's one of these divisive points that we're going to be talking about all season.
Yeah, and again, I can't see it changing this season. So I think it's something that people are going to actually have to get used to now. Yeah. Because as I said, the IFAB just don't change things mid-season. So
yeah,
one of those things. But yeah, I think that's enough about handballs. I think it's got us both riled up. Yeah, should we talk last weekend's fixtures? I'm quite looking forward to this one.
We have to, go on.
Yes, we do, Kwaku. 4-0, West Ham Wolves. I'm just going to the important fixtures. I'm going to the important fixtures, guys. That's all I'm saying, right? So let's talk West Ham Wolves first of all, right?
Why don't we? Let's talk Chelsea West Brom first of all, because that happened before West Ham Wolves.
You want to talk West Brom Chelsea?
Yeah.
So
let me go. Wait. And then...
Okay, let me preface it, right? Okay, I've never seen such an emotional man. So for anyone that doesn't know, last Saturday was my birthday. So Kwaku, me, and a few other friends, we were chilling out all day. Went axe throwing in the morning, ate some pizza, and then chilled out in the afternoon. Watched the Palace game and the Chelsea game, and it was great fun because never in 90 minutes have I seen a man go from such depths to such highs, and at the end of the game, it's low-key embarrassing because he's there screaming, shouting because his team got a 3-3 draw with West Brom. That's all I'm saying.
All right,
Frank Lampard, I'm saying it now. I said it in the first podcast. I said Frank Lampard, first manager to go, right? He signed 300 million worth of players, right? And it'll probably go up to more if he tries signing Declan Rice, right? These players aren't playing that great, So what? Werner got a goal. Werner got a goal in the cup. Oh well, yeah, you went out on penalties. You know what I mean? Just Frank Lampard's going, mate. Frank Lampard is going. And you haven't sold me one.
Please note that I haven't even said the word yet. He's just going. But go on, carry on. You finished? You got any more to say? No? All right, so obviously, game of the weekend. Chelsea West Brom. Thriller. 6-goal thriller. But yeah, in all seriousness, a roller coaster of emotions. Going 3-0 down against a team that was bottom of the league is just obviously not acceptable. Some crazy defensive errors. I do think, though, and maybe this is me with my rose-tinted glasses on, that it's a personnel issue as opposed to a tactical issue. Obviously, Thiago Silva didn't have the best debut, giving away a goal. Marcus Alonso, I don't think he's going to ever put on the Chelsea shirt again, especially after the bust-up that him and Lampard had after the game. And yeah, it was just atrocious defending at the back post for their third goal. It wasn't a good showing in the first half. But again, the resiliency in the second half to come back from that. Mason Mount with a stunner. Callum Hudson-Odoi with a good goal, good build-up with Kai Havertz, and then obviously Tammy Abraham with a last-minute equaliser. I do feel like if there's another 5 minutes left in that game, we would go on to win it. But in terms of like the overall kind of overarching feeling that I've got coming out of that game is we need to be a lot better. We need to do a lot better. But we salvaged the point when we were 3-0 down at half-time, which I don't think can be sniffed at.
No, you were the first team to do that since like 2011 or something like that. Some mad stat. I agree with you to an extent. I don't think you were that great in the second half, if I'm honest. And I think you were lucky to get the third goal because, in hindsight, going back and watching the replays, I do actually think it come down and it hit Havertz on the arm.
Oh, for sure. I'll be fuming if that went up against us.
But again, I think that part of that was, the perception of the law again. I think it was obviously it's the t-shirt line, isn't it? I think it hit him on a part of an arm where it was deemed okay. So again, like
it's just
you know what I mean? That's ridiculous.
Swings and roundabouts though, because I do think those decisions are going to come back around, and I reckon
that's such a fallacy. That's such a fallacy. It's just not the case. It's just not the case. Yeah, it's really not the case at all. To say like, oh, you win some, you lose some. That's great, but if you have one season and you have 10 bad decisions going against you, there's teams like last year that were by far in the negative. I don't have the stats in front of me, if I'm honest, but like there were teams, I think Wolves were one of them that had one of the worst like win to loss ratio because of VAR and things like that. And it's just, I think it's a fallacy that say, oh, you win some, you lose some. Sometimes you get good decisions, sometimes they come around, they all come around.
I disagree with you because I think you make your own luck. I feel like in terms of the attacking impetus in that game, we were pushing and we were always going to get a goal and something's going to go away because we were attacking so much. It's like Liverpool when they played against Arsenal. Obviously, we're going to move on to this fixture later on. But when they played against Arsenal, man, they should have been sent off in the first couple of minutes of the game. But they're Liverpool. You make your own luck and things go your way when you try and make good things happen. And I feel that just happens in football. Like, why is it always the case that these big teams seem to get these decisions that go their way or things seem to happen that fall in favour of these big teams? Because they're always attacking, they're always on the front foot. And when the ball's in the opposition area, crazy things do happen. And I do think it was a handball from Kai Havertz, but it is what it is. We've got the draw.
But how is that?
Hawthorns in the draw.
How is that making your own luck then? Fine, you've put the ball in the position, but I wouldn't say you've made your own luck. I just think the referees haven't made that decision. VAR hasn't picked it up. And look, let's be honest, it's not the first time VAR has made a mistake. Aston Villa are in the Premier League because VAR made a mistake. Like, there are multiple mistakes from VAR all the time. I just think, again, I think it's a fallacy that you can say, I've already said it, but I think it's a fallacy that, like you win some, you lose some, and VAR helps some teams, and then, you might lose one week but come back the next week from it. I just think like that's not the case, and especially when the stakes are so high in the Premier League. A team like West Brom are going to be like, they've 3 games in so far, right? They've played 3 tough games and they've lost 2 of them. Obviously, they've got a draw in the third game, but the 2 points they've lost there is valuable points for them. They will miss those points at the end of the season, They're promising so far, but you'd be comfortable in assuming, like, they're probably going to go down. Like, the only teams that really look worse than them are Fulham. Yeah, Fulham. And, West Ham have looked bad, but we've actually played okay on a couple of occasions. Sheffield United haven't looked great. Looks like they're being found out. Yeah. But, like, teams like West Brom are going to miss those 2 points. And when referees make decisions like that and don't see them. You know, that's what I'm saying. That's why people are so annoyed at this rule.
Well, okay, we'll keep an eye on
Other
it.
way
We'll see
round.
if
Okay,
any
let's do it this
decisions
way,
go.
right?
We'll see if any decisions go West Brom's way this season, because it will. There'll be a decision that
You
could
are-
be 50-50 that'll go West Brom's way.
You are looking at it with rose-tinted glasses as well, because you are a Chelsea fan and you are the beneficiary of that. But my point is, you need to look at football subjectively. Like Steve Bruce, for example, yeah? Steve Bruce, like his team, I was saying, like they benefited as a result of a handball, but he still came out at the end of the game and said, look, I'm not happy with this decision. You know, like
for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes you need to look at football from a subjective point of view.
Yeah,
and
for sure. I understand that, but the one with the Kai Havertz, it actually was, if you interpret the rules how they're interpreted this season, it wasn't a handball because the goal didn't come from the first phase of play.
But that's the problem, Quakes.
Yeah, but that's the rules.
Yeah, but the point is that
what do you want to do about it?
That's the
rules.
problem, though.
Them's are the rules. Are the rules.
Bro, come on, man. That's what I'm saying. Like you're looking at this as a Chelsea fan. So that's what I'm saying. People are coming out this week. Pundits, managers, players, ex-players. They're all coming out and they're talking about this rule, right? Just because that's the current rule doesn't mean there needs to be a unified, appreciation of this rule. You know, some people think it's killing football, and it is actively killing games. You know, Tottenham are going to lose 2 points because of that. West Brom are necessarily going to lose 2 points down to that because of an interpretation of the game. Bro, you look like all I'm saying is right.
No. Wait.
No,
let me just finish. Let me just
wait. If that decision.
Wait. All I'm gonna say is that I agree with the new rules. I like the fact that there's now. It's now objective. It's not somebody making a decision. I understand that these pundits and Roy Hodgson and Steve Bruce coming out and say it. That's their opinion. I don't agree with the discourse around it. I actually think these rules will, in the long run, make football it'll make it much more understandable. For people who don't understand football, it's like, oh, why was that handball? Why is that not handball? It's like, well, it is a handball because it hit his hand. They might not intentionally do it. People don't intentionally give away fouls. People accidentally give away fouls, accidentally trip people up. They're still giving us fouls. They didn't mean to do it, but they gave away a foul. And that's my interpretation of the rule, and that's how I agree with it.
If that decision goes West Brom's way, you're looking at this decision a different way. That's what I'm saying.
Of course. I'm fucking fuming.
Boys, this guy is a fickle football fan. That's what I'm saying. You need to sometimes look at football as an art form and look at it subjectively, right? And I don't think this rule's good, and I think it will be reviewed at the end of the season. And I think the unified response from, it's not just me, there are qualified professionals in the game, active managers in the Premier League, ex-players, players, pundits that are very well respected, played in the game for years and years and years, coming out and bashing this rule, all right? And I think, that's what I'm saying. It's all well and good.
It's opinions, though.
Yeah, it's
like arseholes. Everyone's got one. Go talk about West Ham. Go talk about West Ham.
Right. Again, like this is what I'm saying. Like, can you imagine doing a podcast with a guy, right? So me and Quaker have done 2 episodes together. The third he did with the journo. I was busy, right? In those 2 episodes, the amount of clangers, howlers, just shocking.
Careful. We're going to bring up Fantasy League in a bit. We know who's rock bottom. Careful.
Don't
We're in the same boat. We're going to carry on.
I swear, Fantasy League, I'll preface this. I am doing shit. I'm shocking, right? I am not doing very well. I took a 16-point hit and I'm below you. Fine. Whatever, right? I'm not doing well in Fantasy League, okay? I'm not a Fantasy League aficionado. But what I will say, in the first 2 weeks of the podcast, the amount of claims this guy's put out. So what, he had who's Jared Bowen? These players, right? There's the first one. Right, gets 2 for us on against Wolves. Looks like our best player and has looked good in all the games this far season.
It's not difficult to look at West Ham's best player.
This guy hasn't got a fixture right all season apart from Wolves against West Ham against Arsenal, right? Yeah, but anyway.
Right. Wait, before I let you go, I'm going to take this time to apologise to Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, exactly.
I underestimated you. I underestimated you. You've been banging at the beginning of the season. Let's see if it carries on, but you've been banging at the beginning of the season. To Jared Bowen, though, I'm not apologising to anybody.
My boy!
I'm not apologising to anybody. Let's see what Jared Bowen does when West Ham go down. We'll see how good Jared Bowen looks in a couple of weeks. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I apologise. You're a top player. You look really good. Hopefully you get selected for England this week. But Jared Bowen, I'm not having it. We'll see what he looks like in a couple of weeks, mate. But go on, carry on.
Fair, yeah. Did you see the goal Calvert-Lewin scored last night against us? The first one?
Yeah. Mate, he's...
Mate. That goal was banging. I'm not. You can't like again looking at it as I'm a West Ham fan, so I'm gutted we lost 4-1. But at the end of the day, right, that goal was unbelievable. Like everyone's neglecting the pass from Michael Keane for one. That pass is absolute pinpoint accuracy.
Worldly.
But Calvert-Lewin, right, brings it down one touch, flicks it over the keeper with the other. That's outrageous. Carlo Ancelotti is putting something in his Weetabix in the morning, mate, because that is unbelievable.
Do you think that like he's always had this within him, or do you reckon it's just Ancelotti who's like brought it out of him?
Well, you look at the players like Ancelotti has worked with, and again, a lot of the comparisons have been drawn to people like Filippo Inzaghi, and you look at like the goals Calvert-Lewin scoring, a lot of it is with his first touch and things like that, and inside the box, and like Filippo Inzaghi, like one of the most like anyone that knows football, he's one of the most well-renowned like goal poachers there ever was. You know, he's like an Italian legend. Scored, I haven't got the numbers in front of me, but he scored loads of goals with like his first touch, and like you can see Carlo Ancelotti has clearly been in the year with Calvert-Lewin and said, look, positioning's everything, and you can score. And just look at the goals he's scoring. You know, like the guy's I think he's got 8 goals in probably 4 games all comps. That's mad. Like if he can keep that up, then fine. But you know, it's unlikely. Let's be honest.
He's going to slow down a little bit. Well, on that Inzaghi point, though, that's interesting because I've never really thought of that. Obviously, Inzaghi was more on the shoulder, and I think Calvert-Lewin's got more of a presence. But yeah, the goals he's scoring, obviously the one last night was an absolute banger. But yeah, he does seem to have those one-touch finishes in his locker, and it'll be interesting to see if he carries it on. But again, I'll put out a public service announcement that I apologise to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but Jarrod Bowen, nah, mate.
Jarrod Bowen, as I'm saying, like you want to poo-poo West Ham, that's fine, and I can completely understand why you would, right? A club that lacks ambition completely, but there are a few bright spots in that club at the moment. 3 of them being Souček, Declan Rice, and Jarrod Bowen. I think they're the 3 bright sparks in our side, and I think good things are coming from them. And then Mikel Antonio as well, you can argue. Yeah. But like it was a shame we went out in the cup in such an emphatic way, but Everton looked really good. The one thing I would say about Everton is they had Richarlison go off last night. Alan went off. How good are they going to be when these players do drop out the side? And hopefully, because again, looking at it from a neutral point of view, it's been really refreshing to see Everton playing so well. And Ancelotti, he's come in and like coming through halfway through the last season. And it was evident that the Everton midfield was just shocking. You look at their numbers and they were just so far below what they should be. And he's come in and this summer he's addressed that problem. He's completely transformed the Everton midfield, and they are thriving now. It'd be a real shame to see those players out long term, because it's like Everton have been spending money for a while, but it's just it's interesting. Yeah. I think Everton's an attractive. Yeah, I think Everton's an attractive. Attractive like prospect at the moment. I think it's great for Liverpool. I'm really I'm not again as a neutral. I'm really excited to see the Merseyside derby. I can't wait to see Everton and Liverpool play each other. Liverpool are obviously one of the best sides in the world, but Everton look great at the moment. And it's just
Liverpool, but Liverpool absolutely slapped up Arsenal. I know Liverpool slapped up Chelsea week 4, but the Liverpool performance, we both have clearly admitted that we hate Liverpool, but that performance against Arsenal, bro, they look like on a different level.
It's a statement, isn't it?
Different level. And that's why I understand why Klopp obviously caught the back end of what Roy Keane was saying on Sky Sports. But I understand if he heard any word that was detrimental to in terms of what people thought about their performance, I can understand why Klopp would get his back up. Like if he heard sloppy, I'd be like, what are you talking about sloppy?
Bro,
they were killers.
I absolutely loved that. When do you ever see Roy Keane put in his place? At the end, he's like, "Oh no, Jurgen, I think you've misunderstood me."
And then he waited for him to go off and be like, "He's a bit sensitive." It was like, "Bro, say it to his face." It was interesting, but that performance was that was killer, man. Like Liverpool just looked ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
This is what I was saying in our first episode. So I feel like our top 6 episode, we said it. Relatively early in the transfer, not early in the transfer window, but there was still plenty of time. There's about a month left, and I think since that podcast, they've gone out and signed Diego Jota, and they've gone out and signed Thiago, 2 players. I know Thiago's now contracted COVID, so how long he's going to be out? Probably another week and a half, 2 weeks. But when we said that they would finish third, a lot of our arguments was down to everyone around them is strengthened. and they haven't. They've now gone out and signed, like Thiago, again, I know how much you like Thiago. You said he's one of the best players in the world. But Diego Jota as well. Jota's a quality player, and he's, like arguably, well, he's definitely good cover for Mane or Salah. But again, like this year, as we've said multiple times, all about squad rotation. And, you could start Diego Jota 100%, I'm not saying he's as good as Salah or Mane, but he's a top quality
Liverpool
player
perfectly. Like, and I can't understand. I was talking to a couple of mates who are Liverpool fans, and talking about them missing out on Werner. Obviously, Werner's not looked amazing at the beginning of the season. He got a goal against Spurs midweek, but they were just like, we might have not turned him down, but we couldn't have guaranteed them first team football. And Jota seems like the kind of perfect signing for them. Somebody who's happy to sit on the bench and seems to be able to fit in seamlessly if Salah or Firmino or Mane do get an injury. So it looks like a really good bit of business there. And yeah, we'll have to see how they do. But I'm just worried that Liverpool are going to run away with it. Like, I'm really, really worried, especially after Leicester slapped up Man City. Slapped them up. Like, I can't really... Oh, mate. Like, the thing is, like Harriet was saying, obviously our editor, she was surprised that not many people had Jamie Vardy in their fantasy team. She obviously had them in this week.
Fuck's sake.
I know, innit? I know, she's top.
She's had Son and Vardy.
Yeah, I know. And obviously Vardy, he just scores goals. And I think people not underestimate him or underrate him, but it's a case of people waiting for this run to come to an end, and the guy just scores goals, mate. I know 2 of them were penalties, but still got to put them away. And then the one he did score from open play was a beautiful goal, a beautiful flick.
Mate, from a sports science perspective, like, Jamie Vardy's just an anomaly.
He's a freak, innit?
You see, there's interviews and stuff saying he'd have like Jaeger bombs and stuff like that before games, and he has like Red Bulls and all sorts of stuff like that. Like, it's kind of mad.
Bro, I don't even want to bring race into this, but I've not seen a white boy that quick. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't look like he should be quick. He's a rapido, bro. He is rapido. He is an anomaly, man, and it's good to see as well. It obviously gives everybody who plays non-league football right now like hope. Like, if we work as hard, obviously it's very unlikely going to become Jamie Vardy, but that work ethic and combined with that talent, and he's killing it right now. What other fixtures were decent? I'm looking now. Oh, the United Brighton one. I don't even want to touch on that one, man. Like, United, Bruno Fernandes, bro. Like, again. Obviously, it was after the whistle.
Yeah.
So that's what caused the furore. But I just don't know.
We haven't touched on it, but we haven't touched on it. Again, I think it was a handball, but again, I can't remember who conceded the penalty. But yeah, like, it prompted a strong enough response from Roy Hodgson to come out. What I did like is I did actually like the unity of all the managers. Obviously Steve Bruce came out, Roy Hodgson came out. I really liked what Jose Mourinho said, or Jose, however you want to say it. Jose. He said, I'd rather give my money to charity than the FA. And I think that says it all. I think that's...
for sure.
But yeah.
For sure.
Again, Man United plodding along, looking very average.
And everybody's looking average, though. Oh, this is what I'm going to ask you. Who's going to finish higher? Everton or Leicester?
I think it's a really difficult question. I think they both look great, but history would suggest that Leicester buckled at the end of last season.
Yeah.
And Everton, if you did a combined Everton and Leicester team, I would actually put more Everton players in there personally.
Yeah.
It's
a hard one.
Yeah,
they both make top 6.
Well, if they both make top 6, who drops out? I think the top 4. I think the top 4 are arguably nailed on, and on the current way that Everton and Leicester are playing, they're going to make an argument that they want to be there. But then, let's say that the top 4 is still going to be Man United, Chelsea, City, and Liverpool. 5th and 6th, Arsenal look great, by the way. Tottenham don't look amazing. They were unlucky against Newcastle, but again, like, that's before Bale comes in and stuff like that. So I feel like there's 8 teams vying for 6 places this year.
Yeah.
I think it's and then that's without talking about Wolves, and
it's a tough one, mate. Do you know what I think we should do? Obviously, we made our top 6 predictions at the beginning of the season before the transfer window closed, which is probably a bit silly. I reckon in a couple of weeks or next week we do a new top 6 prediction, just because mine's going to change drastically. I think Chelsea winning the league might have been a bit of a bold statement.
Can I just say, people, right? when I said, I tried to preface my top 6 in first episode saying this could be subject to change due to the transfer window, and he said, "Oh, you're flapping already. You've lost it. The mind games." Can I just say, and can we just replay what he just said? See what I'm saying?
Okay,
that's fine. I'm on board though. I think current form. I wouldn't change my top 6 too much personally, although I may change where I think Liverpool will finish. But I do still think it's early days. I think next week we'll do something transfer related, because obviously it's the transfer window ends on Monday, and we'll rank where we think teams have we'll rank their transfer window and how they've done in the window.
Yeah.
Can't wait to give West Ham like a tier list. I can't wait to give West Ham a fat F, or a fat L, I should say, an L. Yeah.
Mate, by next week, like Declan Rice might be a Chelsea player, so I don't even know if you can get low enough in the alphabet to give him a grade.
Yeah. Just give him like a triple L.
Yeah. All right, should we move on to fantasy then?
No.
No, I don't want to either. Just end it here. Go, do fantasy next.
All I'm saying is, I'm a football fan, and I make the best teams on paper. Unfortunately, when you put that team into fantasy league, that team doesn't actually perform. And when you take out players like Jared Bowen, who scores 2, when you triple captain Werner against West Brom, and he doesn't perform, things don't go well for you in fantasy league. So, yeah.
It was so interesting. Obviously, Jamie touched on it. It was his birthday at the weekend. We were sat there watching the Chelsea-West Brom game, and he was so torn because obviously he enjoys my pain when Chelsea are playing well, but he's got Werner's triple captain. He just doesn't know what to do with himself. It was an interesting watch. But what did you say? What did you get last week in terms of points?
40.
Yeah, I got 40 as well. Mate, this is the worst year to start a football podcast. We're bottom of our own fantasy league.
Yeah.
So
hang on, wait. No. Oh, Duna. Unlucky Duna.
No, because Duna, I think he started the week after. Like that's why he's bottom. Mate, we are doing really bad.
We don't need to mention that, Quakes. We're not bottom. All I've said is there's absolutely nothing between me and you. And then our other best mate, who was also there, he's 19th. Oh, that's tragic.
Shout out to the editor of the show though, Harriet. She's top of it. She's killing it. Like we said, she had Vardy in her team. She had Kane as captain. I think he must have got an assist. Grealish,
so we're doing.
Killed it.
Am I getting the wooden spoon then?
Wooden spoon for this week for sure. You're bottom. I know you took a hit with the transfers, but you're bottom, mate. You're bottom.
Okay.
What are we saying though? Like if out of me, you, and Harriet, the person who finishes bottom, we've got to think of like a forfeit or something.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this. We spoke about this a little bit off show, right? So, guys, what I think we need to do, right, is I think we're going to have two options. And I think option number 1 is whoever gets the lowest has their head shaved, and the other person, or the other 2 people, have to do it on camera, right? So, say I'm bottom.
Harriet ain't doing that.
All right, I mean, no, okay. Harriet. I mean, I don't think Harriet's going to be bottom, Quaku. So I don't think she really has a problem with that. So there's option 1. I think we should let the viewers choose, right?
Okay.
So option 1, Quaku shaves my head if I lose, right? And I shave his head likewise, right? Second option, I think when you're out in like a high street, maybe it's a Saturday afternoon, and you see those guys that are like statues, and they're standing still like. Spray painted gold.
I ain't doing it.
Spray painted gold or something, right? I think we need to get one of us in a football kit, right? Spray a silver or gold or whatever, and then we can stand on a pedestal and have a sign that says something like, rock bottom of the fantasy league or rock bottom of the We Talk Football Fantasy League. I think that's top draw, Quaku.
I ain't doing it. We could put the poll up, but I ain't doing it. What, standing there, spray gold? I'm not doing it, bro. I'll get my barnet cut for sure. I need that right now, but I ain't standing there painting the gold. I ain't coming bottom though, so we can put it out there. I ain't coming bottom.
Yeah. Okay.
So what are you saying this week for transfers to fantasy? You making any transfers? I need to probably do like a wild card.
I did make a transfer. I've done my transfer already. I like to do it early so I can talk about it on the podcast, but that is really to my detriment. Yeah. I've dropped out Timo Werner, actually.
Fair.
And I've brought in Danny Ings.
Who was Southampton playing this weekend?
Southampton have got West Brom. That was why. Sorry.
Yeah.
And you can see Danny Ings scoring at least one goal. He just looks solid. He's a really good player, and I think he's a great fit for Southampton. So
he seems to just get goals. It's like obviously different kind of mold to Jamie Vardy because Jamie Vardy. But like he seems to just always get goals. And if Southampton are going to get goals, it's going to be Danny Ings. I'm really happy to see him actually doing well this season or last season as well.
How about you? Have you done your transfer yet?
No, mate. I always try and do it on Friday, and then I forget, and then it gets to 11:30 on Saturday, and I just haven't done them. I'm going to wait till the manager's press conferences on Friday just to hear if there's any injuries or whatnot, and then make my moves then. But again, the Premier League's just been weird this year because Bale's not playing yet. Like Thiago's got COVID. It's just a bit of a weird one in terms of putting players in your team. Pulisic hasn't played yet. Ziyech hasn't played yet. I don't know. I'm gonna wait till Friday and then make my decisions then. But probably gonna play on wild card and get rid of my whole team.
Good idea.
Nice one. So we don't want to dwell too much on fantasy because, like I said, we're doing fucking awful. But yeah, it's been another episode of the We Talk Football podcast. It's been a bit of a strange one, obviously, with everything happening in the world. Is decided to do it remotely, but
yeah. So if you're wondering why we're set up like this, guys, is because new legislation came out last week, and me and Quaker took the conscious decision to, do it remotely for a while. Yeah. We have, what I will say is we have booked out a conference room for a special episode next week. So make sure you are stay tuned. We'll release more details when we have them. But it should be a good one.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram, We Talk Football Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, WTF Podcast 90. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Music, we're on YouTube. So check us out, give us a follow, show us some love. And we'll talk to you next week.